I never expected my family to destroy me with a single sentence, at least not so calmly, so confidently, so unapologetically. One second I was passing the cornbread across the table. The next, my father leaned back, eyes cold, and said, "Olivia, nobody needs your money or you." My mother didn't flinch. She didn't even blink. She just whispered, "It's true," like she'd been rehearsing it. And then my brother Ethan, the boy I protected my entire childhood, laughed under his breath and said, "Finally." Someone said it. The room felt smaller, tighter, like the walls themselves were waiting for me to break. But I didn't. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't beg them to take it back. I just sat there, staring at the family I had spent years holding together, knowing something they didn't. Their words weren't an ending. They were the trigger for everything I was about to do next. My name is Olivia Parker, I'm 32, and for most of my life I truly believed one dangerous thing. If I worked hard enough, I could fix my family. When I was a kid, our house in Henderson, Tennessee, always smelled like something broken. Motor oil from Dad's work clothes, burnt coffee, damp carpet that never quite dried. The walls were thin enough that every argument felt like it was happening inside my chest. "David, we're behind on the mortgage again," Mom would hiss in the kitchen. "And what do you want me to do, Linda? Pull money out of thin air?" Dad would snap back. I'd lie in bed and count the cracks in the ceiling, pretending I couldn't hear them. My older brother, Ethan, would turn up the volume on his video games and shout, "Liv, stop being dramatic. It's just how they talk." But it wasn't just talk. It was desperation. It was fear. It was the sound of a family slowly drowning. I made myself a promise when I was 12, clutching my worn-out pillow while the sound of shattered glass came from the kitchen. "I'm going to get us out of this. I don't know how yet, but I will." School became my battlefield. While Ethan skipped homework and flirted with girls in the hallway, I stayed behind with teachers, asking for extra credit, extra books, extra anything. I'd sit on the floor of my bedroom with a cheap secondhand laptop, teaching myself to code while the internet lagged, and the house went dark every few months from unpaid electric bills. "Why are you always studying?" Ethan would scoff. "You think you're better than us or something?" "No," I'd say softly. "I'm trying to be better for us." He'd roll his eyes and slam the door, but I meant it. When I got a full scholarship to a tech program in Atlanta, Mom cried not from pride but from panic. "So you're just leaving?" she said, arms crossed. "Running off to your big city life while we're stuck here?" "I'll send money," I promised. "I'll help. This is how I can actually do something." Dad clapped me on the shoulder like I was a teammate who'd scored a point at the wrong time. "Just don't forget where you came from," he muttered. I didn't forget. I carried Henderson in every paycheck. My first real salary as a software engineer. I didn't buy myself a car. I paid off their overdue utilities. I fixed the roof. I sent Ethan money for job hunting, then later for a truck so he could get to work easier. Axted. Every bank transfer felt like proof that I'd kept my childhood promise. "You're a lifesaver, Liv," Ethan texted once. Mom sent a thumbs-up emoji. Dad didn't say anything at all. I told myself silence meant gratitude. I told myself duty was love. I didn't know it yet, but I wasn't saving them. I was training them to believe one deadly lie, that I would always pay, and they would never have to. By the time I hit 30, sending money home had become so routine I barely thought about it anymore. Automatic transfers, quiet repairs, covering overdraft fees, Ethan's truck insurance, Mom's medical copay, Dad's credit card bill he forgot to mention. I lived in a small but decent apartment in Atlanta. They lived in a financial safety net made out of me. Still, when Mom called out of the blue one Wednesday afternoon saying, "You should come home this weekend," I stupidly thought it meant she missed me. I took Friday off, bought a box of pastries from their favorite bakery, even filled my tank so Dad wouldn't have to reimburse me because of course he wouldn't. But the moment I turned onto our street, I felt something off. Not wrong, not dangerous, just different. Like the air itself had already decided how tonight would go. Mom opened the door before I knocked. "Oh, Olivia, not Liv, not sweetheart, not you're finally here, just Olivia." Like a stranger, Dad stayed seated in his recliner, beer in hand. He nodded. One stiff jerk of his chin. "You're early." It wasn't a compliment. Ethan walked out from the hallway wearing a new leather jacket I'd clearly never seen before. Expensive, shiny, sup, he said, barely glancing at me. I placed the pastries on the counter. Mom moved them aside like clutter. I tried to make small talk. How's work, Dad? Fine. How's the sewing business, Mom? Busy. You look good, Ethan. I know. Every answer was a door closing in my face. We sat down for dinner, and the silence stabbed more than the knives on the table. Forks scraped plates. Glasses clinked. No one asked about my job, my life, my health, nothing. Halfway through the meal, I excused myself to the bathroom just to breathe. But when I reached the top of the stairs and paused pure accident, I heard them, voices drifting from the kitchen. My family, my blood, talking about me as if I were a burden that had walked out of the room. Mom, she's getting too proud of herself. Walking in here like she owns the place. Dad grunted. Well, she does think throwing money around makes her important. Ethan laughed loud, sharp, almost delighted. She's pathetic. Without us, she's nothing. Honestly, if she stopped sending money, I'd bet she wouldn't even visit. Mom, she won't stop. She can't. It's the only way she keeps us close. Dad, she should be grateful we put up with her. My heart dropped through the floor. They didn't see the sacrifices. They didn't feel the love behind every dollar. They never noticed the nights I stayed late just to afford what they needed. I wasn't family to them. I was convenience. I walked back downstairs, silent, composed, carrying a truth I hadn't been ready to face. They didn't want me. They wanted what I gave them. But the real horror? I still hadn't heard the worst thing they would say that night. When I walked back into the dining room, they all looked up, not with guilt, not with surprise, but with the same tight, polite expressions they'd worn all evening. The kind people use when they're waiting for a storm to pass. I sat down, folded my napkin over my lap, lifted my fork. Mom cleared her throat. Dad set down his beer. Ethan leaned back, smirking like he already knew what was coming. Something in the air shifted, heavy, electric, final. Dad was the first to speak. Olivia, he said my name the way a manager calls an employee into his office. No warmth, no softness. Just expectation. I lowered my fork. Yes? He crossed his arms. We've been talking. And, well, nobody needs your money anymore. My stomach tightened. But it was the next part that hit like a punch to the ribs. Or you. The room stilled. Even the refrigerator stopped humming. I blinked, thinking maybe I misheard. But Mom leaned forward, meeting my eyes with an expression so calm it felt cruel. Your father's right, she said. You don't need to keep showing up here as if we're relying on you. We're fine without all of this. She gestured vaguely at me. At some point, you need to stop acting like you matter more than you do. Her words cut in the quietest way, soft, precise, deadly. But Ethan went for the throat. He chuckled. Actually chuckled. Yeah, Liv. Nobody needs your money or you. Honestly, it's embarrassing how desperate you are to stay relevant. I stared at him. At the boy whose homework I did. Whose secret crush letters I never showed anyone. Whose broken bicycle I fixed with duct tape and a YouTube tutorial because he cried when Dad yelled. He looked back. Unfazed, pleased. The betrayal should have shattered me. But instead, everything inside me went unnervingly still. Dad leaned back. We just want you to stop acting like the hero. We don't need saving. Mom. And we don't want you thinking you can buy love or loyalty. Buy? Buy? I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake them until they remembered a single moment from the last 10 years. But I didn't. I didn't ask why. I didn't defend myself. I didn't even breathe too hard. I just sat there, staring at three faces that looked like family but felt like strangers wearing familiar skin. Then Ethan said the line that cracked something inside my chest. Honestly, Liv, if you stopped paying for things tomorrow, I doubt any of us would miss you. My mother nodded. My father didn't disagree. The room stayed quiet long enough for the words to sink directly into my bones. But here's what they didn't notice. I wasn't trembling. I wasn't tearing up. I wasn't breaking. I was calculating. Because while they thought they were cutting me off, they didn't know what I had found. What I had prepared. What I had discovered about each of them over the past 3 months. I picked up my glass of water, took a slow sip, set it down gently. Okay? I whispered. Just one word. And the whole table mistook it for surrender. But they were wrong. It wasn't surrender. It was the sound of a fuse being lit. They had no idea what their sentence had just started. I didn't stay long after that. Maybe 10 minutes. Maybe less. Time felt like a thin wire stretched between two versions of me, the Olivia who once believed she could save her family, and the Olivia who finally realized they'd never wanted saving. I stood up slowly, pushing my chair back with barely a sound. Mom looked annoyed. Dad looked relieved. Ethan smirked like he'd just won something. "Where are you going?" Mom asked, arms crossed. "Home," I said. "This is your home," Dad snapped. I met his eyes. "No, it isn't." The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was thick, suffocating like the air was waiting for someone to take it back. Nobody did. I grabbed my coat and walked to the door. My hands didn't tremble. My breath didn't shake. My body felt steady, too steady. That's when I realized. Shock hadn't hit me. Rage hadn't either. It was something deeper, colder. Something that didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't collapse. Something that planned. From behind me, Ethan muttered, just loud enough. "Drama queen." I paused with my hand on the doorknob. For a moment, I pictured turning around and throwing every secret I knew right into his face. The unpaid debts, the lies he told his girlfriend, the loans he never intended to repay. But no, not yet. I walked out without a word. The Tennessee night air slapped my skin, icy and metallic. I sucked in a deep breath, letting it burn its way down my throat. My vision sharpened. Colors brightened. My mind aligned with a terrifying clarity. My family thought silence was weakness, but my silence wasn't empty. It was full. Full of things they didn't know I knew. Full of moves they never imagined I could make. I reached my car, opened the door, and sat inside. No tears. Not even close. Instead, I pulled out my phone. First message. To Hannah Reyes, my co-worker and closest friend. "Can I stay at your place tonight?" Family stuff exploded. Her reply came less than 10 seconds later. "Come over. I'll make tea. And don't drive if you're shaking." Shaking? If only. I wasn't shaking. I was awakening. Before I started the engine, I opened a folder on my phone. A folder I created weeks ago. After noticing something strange, bank statements that didn't add up. Money disappearing from accounts it shouldn't disappear from. Credit checks I never authorized. A loan application I never submitted. And all of it linked to someone in this house. My parents thought I was their personal ATM. Ethan thought I was pathetic, desperate for their approval. None of them knew that on my last visit, while fixing their router, I found something hidden on Dad's laptop. Something that had my name on it, my financial information, my social security number, my digital signature. Something illegal. I had screenshots. I had documents. I had dates. They thought tonight was about their decision to cut ties. But the truth was far more ironic. I had already begun cutting them off long before this dinner. Not out of spite. Out of necessity. They just didn't know they'd pushed me past the point of no return. As I drove away from the house, its windows glowing warmly behind me, I realized something strange. For the first time in years, I felt free. They thought they humiliated me tonight. But this wasn't humiliation. This was ignition. And they hadn't even seen the first spark. I reached Hannah's apartment around 10 p.m., and she opened the door before I could knock twice. Her eyes widened. "Oh my God, Liv. What happened?" I stepped inside, hung my coat, and said the only thing I could say without unraveling. They finally said it out loud. She didn't ask what it was. Instead, she put a mug of hot chamomile in my hands, sat across from me, and waited. Hannah knew me. She knew that when I went quiet, something catastrophic had happened, or was about to. I took a slow sip and murmured, "My parents said they don't need my money, or me." Then I let out a breath, and Ethan agreed. Hannah froze like she'd been slapped. "What?" She stood up. "No, absolutely not. They didn't." They did. And I repeated every word they'd thrown at me. By the time I finished, Hannah looked angrier than I felt. "That's disgusting. You've carried that family for years." "I know." She clenched her fists. "So what now? You want to confront them? Cut them off? Change your number?" I shook my head. "No. I want to do something they won't expect. Something they won't understand until it's too late." Her eyebrows lifted. "I'm listening." I unlocked my phone and slid it across the table. On the screen was the folder I had opened in the car. Parker evidence. Do not delete. Hannah eyed it. "Liv, what is all this?" "Proof," I whispered. Proof that my dad used my identity to take out a personal loan last year. Proof that Ethan opened a credit card in my name when he was unemployed and never paid a single dollar. Proof that my mother has been routing my financial support into a hidden account labeled emergency, but never used any of it for bills. Hannah covered her mouth. Oh my God. Yeah, I said flatly. Turns out, the only time they think I matter is when they're using me. I looked her dead in the eyes. And tonight they told me they don't need me anymore. A slow, dangerous smile curled at the edge of my mouth. So I'm going to give them exactly what they asked for. The next morning, I logged into the account tied to the credit card Ethan had opened under my name. Balance: $8,490. Status: past due. I clicked report fraud. Then pursue investigation. Then I filled in every detail, attached every screenshot, and submitted. A text arrived from the bank 30 minutes later. Thank you. A fraud case has been opened against the primary user, Ethan Parker. I stared at Ethan's name. For once, it didn't hurt. It didn't sting. It just felt accurate. Mom always said I shouldn't pry. Money is private. She would insist any time I asked why bills weren't paid. So imagine my surprise when I found a private savings account she'd been funneling my transfers into, never touching it, never using it, just letting it grow. Was it for retirement? An escape fund? Something darker? I didn't know. I didn't care. I transferred the entire balance, every last dollar, back to my own account, legally, effortlessly, because the account was under my name. I didn't leave a single cent. Dad was the one who hurt most. Not because he stole my identity, but because he didn't think twice about it. I opened the loan portal. Balance: $12,600. Taken out using my social security number and a forged signature. I clicked dispute identity verification, attached screenshots, sent the official statement. A response came hours later from the fraud department. Loan investigations may lead to legal consequences for the applicant. Good. For 30 years I carried his mistakes. He could carry this one. Then came the final blow, the one they never expected. When I paid for the new roof 2 years ago, the contractor had mistakenly listed me as a partial lien holder. Dad never corrected it. He never even noticed, which meant legally, I owned 18% of the house. I filed a formal lien enforcement request. Not to take the house, not to force a sale, just to freeze their ability to refinance, take out loans, or transfer ownership. It was a message. A legal one. A permanent one. By noon, my phone started exploding. Mom, Olivia, what is happening? The bank called. They said something about an investigation? Dad, call me now. This is serious. Ethan, did you report me? Are you out of your mind? Answer your damn phone. I turned every notification off. Set the phone face down. Hannah stared at me like she was witnessing a transformation. Liv, you're terrifying right now. I took a long sip of tea. I'm not terrified, I said calmly. I'm done. She swallowed. What's next? I leaned back on her couch, feeling something I hadn't felt in years: control. What's next? I repeated. My smile widened. They wanted a life without me? Fine. They're going to experience exactly what that looks like. Set of the Titnot-ness cases. The next 48 hours unfolded like a slow-motion implosion, one explosion at a time, each louder than the last. I woke up on Hannah's couch to the sound of my phone vibrating violently against the table. Again. And again. And again. Missed calls. Voicemails. Texts stacking like dominoes. I didn't touch the phone. Not yet. I let the storm build. By noon, Hannah peeked through the blinds and said, Liv? You might want to see this. Standing outside the apartment building, pacing, yelling into his phone, hair wild, face red, was Ethan. Jesus, Hannah whispered. He looks unstable. I stepped forward and looked down through the window. Ethan kept running his hands through his hair, kicking the curb, shouting into the phone like the world owed him something. I didn't flinch. I didn't hide. If he had come for a fight, he was already far too late. Hours passed before I finally checked my messages. Ethan, you reported me? The bank froze my accounts. My card declined at a gas station in front of everyone. Another message came seconds later. Are you kidding me right now? Open the door. I didn't. Hannah grabbed my arm. Liv, he's unhinged, don't you dare go out there. So I didn't. I simply opened my texts and sent one line. You said nobody needed me. I'm giving you what you wanted. Seconds later, I watched through the blinds as Ethan's face collapsed, not in remorse, but in panic. Pure, feral panic. That was the moment it clicked for him. I had always been his backup plan, his safety net, his excuse to never grow up. Without me, the world became real. And he wasn't ready for reality. Next came my mother. Mom never panicked out loud. She panicked quietly, sharp breaths, shaky words, long texts. Mom, Olivia, the bank froze the emergency account. What am I supposed to do now? Your father and I needed that money. Needed, not appreciated, not respected. Needed. For years I mistook her silence for love. But now I saw it clearly. Her love was conditional, transactional, budgeted like a bill. I texted her back. You told me last night you didn't need my money. So I'm respecting your boundaries. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Mom, don't twist my words. You're being dramatic. Undo whatever you did. I didn't respond. For 30 years, her voice had dictated how I felt. Not anymore. Dad didn't text. Dad called. 10 times, 15, 20. Then a voicemail arrived, his voice low, trying to sound controlled but shaking with something beneath it. Olivia, we need to discuss this. I don't know what you think you found, but you're making a mistake. If you don't stop this right now, we're all going to be in serious trouble. We, not he. I replayed it, twice, 3 times. That fear? It wasn't for me. It wasn't even for the family. It was for himself. He knew exactly what he did when he used my identity. He knew it was a crime. He knew being investigated would cost him everything. But he also thought I would never fight back. He underestimated me. For the first time in my life, that felt good. The biggest hit came at 3 p.m. Dad must have tried to refinance the house or take out another loan, because I got an automatic email from the county clerk. Lien enforcement request processed. Property actions temporarily restricted. I knew exactly what that meant. He did too, because not even 15 minutes later, bang, 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 someone hammered on Hannah's front door. Olivia, open this door right now. Dad's voice, boiling. Unhinged, Hannah whispered. Oh my God. I stood up slowly, walked to the door, and spoke through it. Go home, Dad. You don't get to freeze my goddamn house. You don't get to report us. You don't get to do this. I laughed. Actually laughed. Dad, I said through the wood, voice steady. You told me last night you don't need my money. This is what not needing me looks like. Silence. Thick. Raw. Humiliating. Then he snarled. You think you can survive without us? You think you can just walk away and ruin our lives? And quietly, calmly I answered. You ruined your own life the moment you stole mine. His fist slammed the door once more. Then footsteps stormed away. They didn't know I could hear them outside, arguing in the parking lot. All 3 of them. Mom shrieking, What did you do, David? What exactly did she find? Ethan yelling, This is your fault. You're the one who told her nobody needs her. Dad roaring, Shut up. She reported both of you too, you idiots. Mom crying, How do we fix this? What? Dad spitting. We can't fix it. She's turning the whole damn system against us. Ethan yelling, She won't get away with it. I opened the blinds a crack. They were unraveling, destroying each other. No unity. No loyalty. No family. Because I wasn't the glue anymore. Because I chose myself. Because I said no for the first time. And without my support, they couldn't even support themselves. Hannah whispered behind me, Liv, are you okay? I didn't answer immediately, because for the first time in my entire life, I felt something unfamiliar, something warm, something steady, relief. I'm not okay, I said quietly. I'm finally free. Hannah wrapped an arm around me. And as we stood there, watching the Parker family implode in the parking lot, one truth solidified in my bones. Sometimes you don't lose a family. Sometimes you escape one. By the time the sun dipped below the parking lot, the shouting outside had quieted into something even worse. Whispers, accusations, panic. I watched from Hannah's window as my family stood beside Dad's aging truck. No longer united, no longer even pretending. Mom was crying into her hands. Dad was pacing, kicking gravel. Ethan had both hands in his hair, muttering, She screwed us. She screwed us all. Not one of them said, Maybe we deserved it. Maybe we caused this. Maybe Olivia was right. Not once. And that was the moment I decided. Asterisk, asterisk, I wasn't done. Not yet. Asterisk, asterisk. At 7:43 p.m., the doorbell rang. Not knocking. Not pounding. A single, controlled press. Hannah gasped. It's them. Liv, please don't answer. But I had to. Not to fix things, not to negotiate, but to finish. I opened the door. All three stood there disheveled, swollen-eyed, furious, terrified. My father stepped forward. Olivia, he said, voice low. We need to talk. I crossed my arms. About what? About how nobody needs my money? Or about how you committed fraud using my identity? Mom flinched. Ethan's jaw dropped. Dad's face twisted like he hadn't expected me to say it out loud. Inside, he hissed. Now. I shook my head. No. Whatever you have to say, you can say it right here. Dad inhaled sharply. Fine. You want the truth? You want to play this game? Let's talk. He stepped closer. You think you're a victim? You think we used you? You think sending a little money makes you some kind of hero? A little money? I repeated. My laugh came out hollow. Dad, I paid your loan defaults. I paid your property taxes. I replaced your roof. I covered Ethan's truck insurance. I bought groceries every month for 2 years. And? Dad roared, face red. That doesn't give you the right to turn our lives upside down? Mom grabbed his arm, whispering, David, stop. But he kept going. You reported me to the bank like I'm some criminal? Your own father? I stared at him, unblinking. You are a criminal, I said evenly. You forged my signature. You stole my information. That's a felony. Mom covered her mouth, eyes wide. Olivia, please, your father didn't mean to. He was desperate. So was I shot back. Except I didn't steal from anyone. Ethan stepped in front of Dad. This is insane, he yelled. You're blowing everything out of proportion. It's just money. $8,000, I corrected, under my name. You opened the card, you maxed it out, then you ignored every bill. He scoffed. You're rich. Who cares? There it was. The rot, the entitlement. The belief that because I worked hard, it somehow belonged to them. I took one step forward. I care. He blinked. What? I care. I repeated, voice steady. Because I worked for that money. Because I broke myself to keep this family afloat. And you spat in my face the moment you didn't need me. His mouth opened. Closed. Like he had finally forgotten his script. Hannah appeared behind me, arms crossed. If you don't leave, she said to Ethan. I'm calling security. Ethan glared at her. Stay out of this. She didn't move. I won't. It was then, right then, that Ethan shifted from angry to frantic. You can't do this, Liv, he said, voice cracking. You can't just cut us off. We're family. I inhaled sharply. Family doesn't steal from me. Family doesn't lie. Family doesn't tell me I don't matter. He stepped toward me like he wanted to grab my arm. Hannah moved between us. Back up, she warned. Ethan stared at me, tears forming but not falling. You're ruining everything. No, I said. You ruined everything the moment you told me nobody needed me. Mom suddenly collapsed into a crouch on the hallway floor, sobbing. Olivia, baby, please, we didn't mean it. We were stressed. We were angry. Your father didn't mean what he said. Ethan was joking. Please don't do this. Please don't ruin our lives. Her voice cracked, turning shrill. You're all we have. If you walk away, how will we survive? Her desperation should have broken me. It would have. A year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But now? Now it felt like a stranger begging for a version of me they had already buried. I survived without you, I said softly. You can survive without me. Mom reached for my hand. I stepped back. Her sob turned into a scream. Dad grabbed Mom's arm, pulling her up. Enough. She made her choice. She thinks she's better than us. Better. That word again. Do you know what it feels like to spend your entire life trying to be enough? For people who never tried for you, it feels like drowning while they sit on the shore, complaining that the waves are too loud. I lifted my chin. I'm not better than you, I said. I'm just done letting you drag me under. Ethan punched the doorframe. This is your fault, he shouted at our parents. You pushed her, Dad snarled. Don't you put this on me. You told her we didn't need her. You agreed. You started it. In the hallway of a stranger's apartment building, the Parker family erupted. shouting, blaming, accusing, not united against me but ripping each other apart. And for the first time in my life, they weren't tearing me apart with them. I watched quietly. Then I said the words that ended it. "I'm done saving you." The hallway fell silent. Dad's face drained of color. Mom froze mid-sob. Ethan looked like someone had knocked the breath from his lungs. "Goodbye," I said. "And don't come back here again." Then I closed the door. Firm. Final. Free. When the door clicked shut, the silence inside Hannah's apartment wrapped around me like a warm blanket, heavy, unfamiliar, comforting. For the first time in my 32 years, the world wasn't demanding something from me. There were no overdue calls, no guilt-drenched messages, no emergencies masked as family needs. Just quiet. Real quiet. Hannah guided me to the couch like I was learning how to walk again. "You did it," she whispered. Her voice broke on the last word. "You actually did it." I didn't respond immediately. My body wasn't shaking. My heart wasn't racing. Instead, I felt strangely light, like someone had reached into my chest and untied a knot I didn't know I'd been carrying since childhood. A knot named Parker Responsibility. A knot named Good Daughter. A knot named Savior. Now, all gone. That night I lay awake on Hannah's pull-out sofa, looking at the ceiling, but not waiting for footsteps, not listening for yelling, not bracing for the next crisis. My mind wasn't constructing solutions. It wasn't calculating bills or planning how much I could send home next month. There was nothing to fix, nothing to repair, nothing to save. I didn't know whether to cry or laugh. So I did neither. I simply breathed, deep, slow, and for myself. At 2:14 a.m., my phone buzzed. One new message. Not from Dad. Not from Mom. Not from Ethan. From my Aunt Caroline, my mom's sister. Someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Her message was short. "Olivia, whatever they told you, I know the truth. They've been using you for a long time. If you need a place or someone to talk to, call me. I'm proud of you." I stared at it for a long time. Proud. Such a strange, foreign word coming from someone related to me. I let out a breath. Maybe family didn't have to mean damage. Maybe it didn't have to mean obligation. Maybe it could mean choice. By the end of the week, the fallout reached every corner of Henderson. Dad's loan investigation escalated. The bank officially froze, his accounts pending verification. Ethan's credit card fraud case moved forward. He tried blaming me to everyone he knew, but the evidence was indisputable. Mom's secret savings account was closed. Neighbors whispered. Friends distanced themselves. Relatives asked uncomfortable questions. But none of that was my problem. Not anymore. I didn't check on them. I didn't reply to them. I didn't watch them drown. I simply stepped away from the water. I moved into a new apartment in Atlanta, small, bright, with a balcony facing the sunrise. Hannah helped me pick out plants. Aunt Caroline drove up on weekends with donated furniture. One day, while unpacking, Hannah lifted a framed photo of me and Ethan as kids. "You want to keep this?" she asked gently. I looked at the picture. Young Olivia hugging her brother from behind, both of them smiling with missing teeth. A time before resentment, before lies, before expectations crushed everything underneath. "No," I said. "Throw it away." And I didn't feel guilty. Not even a little. I drafted a letter to my parents a month later, not out of longing, not to reconcile, but for closure. It said, "I loved you. I tried, but I refused to build my life around people who tear me down. I'm not coming back. Do not contact me again." I never mailed it. I didn't need to. I already knew the truth. Some doors close without a sound. Some endings don't need witnesses. On my first night in the new apartment, I sat on the balcony with a cup of tea. The city hummed softly below. The sky was a dark, gentle blue. For once, the only voice in my head was mine. Not Mom's criticism, not Dad's disappointment, not Ethan's entitlement. Just me. And I whispered something I had never said before. "I deserve peace." The words felt right. True. Like they'd been waiting for me. That night, I slept with the window open, letting the cool air carry away the last traces of Henderson. And as I drifted off, I realized something beautiful. Sometimes freedom isn't loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's simply choosing yourself, and finally walking away from people who never would.